So let's go here. Callan will kick it off for us. He goes, afternoon, gents. Saw which team is bound to have heads roll after their first round exit? Milwaukee or the Flake? I mean the Flake show. I mean the Lakers.
The Lakers are not firing anybody. They just gave Pelinka a 5-year contract extension, or I should say 3-year extension on top of what was left. And J.J. Redick is there. I'll be intrigued to see how they're going to be able to manipulate their way to go get bigs, because that's what they need. They don't have a lot of cap space. You know, LeBron's got a $51 million extension. He's going to make a decision on shortly. He stays. Luka is up for a max extension. Reeves has already got his extension. So there's not a ton of cap space to go get a marquee free agent out there. And they're kind of negligible in terms of how many number one picks they have out there to be able to go use down roads. And who they got anybody wants in terms of a trade, unless you can trade Rui Hachimura. Don't think they're going to trade Reeves. I don't think Kinect's got much market value right now. So I just don't know how they're going to go fix what they need, which is they need bigs, unless they find role players, and you can do that. What was the guy from Oklahoma City? Isaiah Hartenstein? Tough guy, big. He's developed a really good player. They got to find somebody like that to take up space in the paint and make something happen that they can afford and get and develop. The guy they had is playing for the Clippers tonight, Zubac.
Oh yeah.
And he's turned out to be a really fine center. Just think about that. If he had been there, but he's not. So that's where we are.
Well, thinking about a big man that used to be at OKC is that Adams guy.
Yeah, but he's had knee injury after knee injury. I just don't know that.
But he's good when he's on the court. I mean, he's a hell of a player. You talk about first round exits. I think the Kings coach is the one that's in the most trouble, right?
Yes.
If they get booted in this first round.
That's what the NHL people telling me. And I think the guy's done a nice job there, and Rob Blake's given a lot of players. But geez, when you're up 2-0 on Edmonton, you got to find a way to win and close these suckers out. And they didn't. And now they're down 3-2, and they got to go play the Oil up there. That's impossible. Okay, next one.
Okay, talk Dodgers here with Eric. He goes, is Blake Snell a surprise to anyone? Either injured or just doesn't want to tax himself for meaningless games. Seems the injuries and his load management are all just the same.
Well, I posed this question last week. I'm not sure Dodger fan is real happy with me, but did you need to investigate why the first halves of his seasons have been so miserable? Now he's got apparently a significant injury with a shoulder impingement. And at the end of the day, what is his training regimen like? And because his first half ERA is miserable. It's like 4.38. Second half ERA is 2.38. He's getting a full year's salary for a half year's of work of quality starts. Did anybody investigate why this is the way it is? Does he need to investigate and do something really different to be ready to start the season? So he's out. The Glasnow thing is complicated. As I told John last week, we're playing now. And there's no long off period of time. You can't fix a guy's mechanics when you're supposed to give him the ball every fourth or fifth day, unless you shut him down for a month. And maybe they're going to have to do that with Glasnow. And if you're going to, you'll send him back to Arizona to their spring training camp, and you will work to refine his mechanics. And he's got to be able to repeat it. But you can't do that while he's pitching in the regular rotation at max effort. So Dodgers right now, they got two glitches, John and I have joked extensively about, the Dodgers have all these extra pitchers and look at what they've developed at Oklahoma City and all that. But said they got 3 more guys still rehabbing, including Ohtani, who are not ready to pitch. And they got 3 other young guys that have been up and down, that gotten banged around, Bobby Miller and Landon Knack, and they're back in AAA because they haven't been very consistent with the show. So suddenly, you're shaking your head like you agree with me. I'm not going to say the Dodgers have a catastrophic problem in pitching, but the Dodgers suddenly don't have enough starting pitching with answers as to how to fix it.
Yeah, who are some of those other young guys? I mean, there was Sheehan and Grove.
Those guys all had surgery, and they're still on the disabled list. In some of those cases, those guys are gone for the whole year. Sheehan is of the young ones. Is likely back sometime in July, but he's not doing rehab in terms of pitching in games yet. So no, we laughed. You laughed at me. You said 23 names we had on the board that one time.
I remember that. I took up the whole screen.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, a lot of those guys were in recovery or about to begin rehab, and that they all had forearms or shoulders. It takes a long time to come back. So I'm not saying the Dodgers have a catastrophic problem, but the Dodgers right now don't have a lot of depth in that pitching, considering all the names they had.
Blake Snell needs like an ergonomic chair when he's doing his video game work, because he likes his video games. But it is weird, the whole Snell thing in the first half, which we've talked about numerous times. I like Blake Snell. I think he's a good dude. I don't think he's the kind of guy that would kind of do a little scam move.
No, I don't think it's a scam, but what's your regimen? What are you doing?
Well, yeah. And then I think the Dodgers, they're probably just slow walking this whole thing because they know they got they still have 40 games left in the season. There's no rush on any of this. And, as long as we're at 500 or a little bit above going into the All-Star break, everything's fine.
Okay. He's copping out on me here on this one. Okay. Thanks, Eric. Join us again. Go ahead, John.
Okay. This is a two-parter from Angel. And he goes, Bill Belichick went from a well-respected NFL coach to a laughingstock. It's not even funny. And he says, it feels more like a plot for Necessary Roughness sequel than an actual college football team.
I just don't understand why you would expose yourself to this. Not that I agree with him being condescending in the way he always was at New England. Like I said, I got along with him okay, and he was cooperative in the 4 or 5 interviews I did with him. But I didn't have to deal with that crap day in, day out. And I guess it would get really old. He created, I think, a lot of enemies in the NFL, which is why he didn't get a job again. That plus all his player personnel decisions did not pan out.
Who were his enemies?
Obviously, some owners or other coaches.
But he's still close with Kraft. They still have a good relationship.
No.
No? That whole thing went to hell?
Yes. Hell in a handbasket.
Well, I knew that, it was time to move on from Belichick, but I still thought that
the storyline is that Atlanta is the only team that talked to Belichick, and Kraft told Atlanta who Belichick was. And that was the end of that. And he never got another interview from anybody. With all the jobs are open this past year, I would have sworn Raiders, Jerry Jones, back when we were talking about who's available, and as these jobs are opening right at the end of the season, I would have thought that he would have wound up with one of these jobs, and he never talked to Jerry Jones, never got an interview. So I think there's a reputation that's preceded him, his methodology, way of business, as great as it was in the Brady era, it really ended up badly in New England. And prior to that, when he was in Cleveland, that was a freaking disaster.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Brady had a lot to do with the great success that Belichick had, but
yeah, his record post Brady was like under 500.
Was it 36-48? Or New England was 36-48 in the years since Brady retired. Not good. So this whole North Carolina thing, we'll be watching what's going on down Tobacco Road. This is going to be
awesome.
Amazing.
Okay, let's go here to Hector. And he goes, Lee, stop being so hard on the hoodie and his girlfriend. We all can't find a diamond in the coal mines of West Virginia like you.
Oh, my goodness. She was an airline stewardess, I guess. That's where they met on a flight to Palm Beach. So she's the CEO of Belichick Media. Does the term gold digger, is that unfair for me to mention?
No, it's absolutely relevant. Yeah. Okay. Well, here, just a couple of shout outs from some good fans of yours. Here's from Pedro, and he goes, love your show, Hacksaw and John. Always see your show down here in Guadalajara, Mexico. Great job.
Pedro, I need you to tell everybody on your Rolodex.
It's not a Rolodex.
Whatever the hell you call it. Address book.
Yeah, your contact list.
Contact list.
Yeah. There you go. And then just to follow up, we have a comment here from Darth. And he goes, greetings from Boise, home of the Blue Turf.
Yay. What a great program. Great athletic program. And they've been able to keep it at a high level. And Boise is to that level of football what Gonzaga became to that level of basketball. It's just amazing. And they're both up there in the Pacific Northwest. Boise's a cool city. It's old. It's kind of got a taste of Old West to it. That stadium is cool. I almost went there to work. I almost got hired to be the voice of the Boise State Broncos right at the end of the run, but there's too many other things going on in my career at that point that we just never quite got around to getting the deal done. But I spent 2 days up there. I had a good time. I interviewed and met with a whole bunch of people, and this is just as they were growing the thing in football. I'd probably still be up there. You'd be living in Boise doing a podcast with me.
I probably would. You know what's funny though is you got fans in Guadalajara and Boise. It's
Is that kind of like Baja to the Canadian
that's what I was
Rockies?
going to say. Yes, exactly.
And we got the old Canada network
Yeah,
too.
exactly. So it's all good. All right. So let's keep rolling here. And who do we want to jump in on board? And let's go here to Greg. And he says, "Hey, Lee and John, what do you think USC will finish in the Big Ten this year? Top 3?"
I'll tell you, it's really hard. It's really hard to determine rosters. I mean, these guys are finishing up spring football, and they got so many strangers and so many new guys are just showing up. I mean, the coaching challenge, I think, for Lincoln Riley and even more so for Deshaun Foster with all the defections, et cetera. I should know how you put a team together. Same thing here at San Diego State with Sean Lewis is having to go through. It's just really challenging because you got so many new pieces because they lost virtually their entire offensive line. They lost their running backs, wide receivers. There's so many new pieces at USC. So to me, it's a little bit early just to determine. I have to see if there's any more late names that show up in the spring transfer portal.
Well, I mean, Ohio State and Michigan are going to still be 1-2 or 2-1, right? I mean, so who's typically the third best football team in the Big Ten? Sometimes it's Wisconsin, sometimes it's Iowa.
Yeah, for 1 year it was Indiana, but that thing has changed so much. But Ohio State, Michigan obviously kind of own the whole thing. Somebody asked me, I get stopped by people everywhere, just buying groceries and
Hacksaw in the Wild.
Yeah, no, I wasn't in the wild. This was at the deli, and the guy said, "How come there were so many Big Ten and SEC players taken at the top of the first round of the draft?" Well, there's 26 to 32, I think was the number, came from the Big Ten or the SEC. Why? They got all the NIL money. They go get any player they want.
Right.
And that's why they now suddenly are dominating college football is they got the NIL wealth. But the story is Ohio State had $30 million to spend on football players last year.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I guess Ashton Genty is one of the 6 that wasn't in the Big Ten SEC in the first round.
Yeah. And he turned down offers to go to – he could have gone anywhere and probably written his own ticket in the Big 12. He elected to stay at Boise.
Yeah, who else? It was like the receiver from Arizona was not one of those in those 2 conferences. Yeah, and a few others.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's 26 of 32, I believe, was the number. So that meant there were only 6 kids that were not Big Ten or SEC guys.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Crazy. Well, imagine if they split off and made their own league. They're talking about that.
Well, talking about it hasn't happened. Nobody seems to want to do that because it would bust up a bunch of other things.
Okay, let's go here to Carlos. And he says, "Hey, Lakers, Lee, you were right. Where do they go from here? They need to get younger and more athletic. Can we trade Giannis? Not sure. Trade for Giannis is LeBron James would welcome a young movement. Oh, well.
Well, how are you going to add Giannis when you got a salary cap? That's a big issue. I don't know that Milwaukee wants to trade Giannis. Maybe Milwaukee gets into its own rebuild mode. I guess you can go find young bigs that you can develop, but you have to be patient with them. And Pelinka has drafted a lot of guys. I don't see anybody that's made a difference. Even Dalton Connect, who they seem to like in spurts of time, and he didn't get off the bench at all during the postseason. So, and they got 3 guys making all their money. So I'll be intrigued to see where they're going to go to get a big. And I guess you can find them. You got to open every cupboard there is down the hallway to see if you can find somebody that you think you can grow and make a legitimate role-playing big center. But they got to get better in the bigs. And you were right, Carlos. I told you so. The day they made this trade, John said, "You're being awful harsh on them." I mean, they got Luka. I said, who the hell is going to play in the paint? Who's going to play defense? Who's going to be a rim protector? And what did Minnesota do to them? They mugged them.
Well, let's make a list of all the Lakers in the last 5 or 6 years that have been traded away. I mean, there's like Caldwell Pope, and you talk about Zubac, Julius Randle.
Yeah, Randle was gone. They didn't give him enough time. He's developed into a pretty gritty player. Kyle Kuzma was really popular. He wanted to stay here, but he didn't play really well. But he was not a cornerstone. He was one of the good players, but he went to Washington in multiple deals. And it'd take me forever to go back and have to redo the list. But I wrote columns about this maybe a year ago about Pelinka's transactions, and he brought in 33 players in 4 years or something to try to find complementary pieces. It didn't really work.
But I mean, imagine if they had Julius Randle. I mean,
Yeah.
that could make a huge difference. But Randall is more of a 4, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's not really a center.
No, he's not a center at all, but he just beats your brains out. That's the way he plays.
He's just a big dude.
Yeah, physical. And he's grown into that role. He was not that when he came from, where did he come from? North Carolina? From the ACC, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Here's another Laker comment. This is from Douglas. He goes, Lakers are the Steelers of the NBA and vice versa. That's interesting.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I could say that. I mean, the Steelers are pretty gritty. The Steelers win. Lakers haven't won in a while. One championship in 9 years since LeBron got here. You know, the banners up there are kind of dusty now. I mean, they haven't put any good banners up there in a long time. So it's just.
Well, how many championships have the Steelers had in the last 9 years? No, I don't think any either.
Yeah. Oh, so he's probably making reference. Steelers have let the world down too.
Well, yeah, because they've had moments of greatness.
Yeah.
Moments of their own.
Well, they did win with Roethlisberger.
Yeah, they had dynasties of their own. And then when they fall off, at least they don't fall to the bottom of the list. They're usually sort of mediocre for a while.
I wrote a column this morning. You should read my one man's opinion column on my website. Just go check it out. Because the Lakers once upon a time were Jerry West and Gail Goodrich and Elgin Baylor and Wilt. And the Lakers were obviously Kareem and Magic and Showtime. And what are the Lakers now? Gee, we hope we can be a play-in team. Or hey, we'll be the 7th seed. Oh my God, we got knocked out again. We got mugged by Minnesota. That's who the Lakers have been. Lakers have become mediocrity, despite having Luka and LeBron. So, I'll tell you, the summer's going to be fascinating to see what they can do to be able to go get a big with some credibility to play at the other end of the floor. Interesting.
Well, they were a 3 seed, but they were like one game away from being a 7th seed.
Mm-hmm.
The way that whole thing was. So the Lakers seeding is sort of a false reality.
Yeah, there wasn't a hell of a lot between 3 and 8.
Yeah.
I concur. Okay, move on. Let's do a couple more here.
Okay, we'll go to John. This is a long one. I don't know if I'm going to read it all, but he's excited about the Caps.
Rightfully so.
Yeah,
what Ovi did in those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Logan Thompson stood on his head. That goaltender, holy cow. He was getting hit by shots he never saw, and he was still making saves along the way. So it's going to be interesting. And the Eastern Conference is so weird right now because, Florida has mugged Tampa and knocking them out. And then obviously you got Washington is there. Toronto has to prove that they're not going to choke this damn thing away again. They got to go to Ottawa. They've let Ottawa back in the series. There's no bloody way that Toronto should be struggling with the Ottawa Senators, but they are. And then obviously, as he alludes to, the Kachuk family, who seems to be feuding with everybody on the ice all the time. So, but hey, the Caps, the Caps had the best record in the East for a reason. Depth. And they got Ovechkin. And this goaltender has come out of nowhere. The story on Logan Thompson was just a kid that played junior hockey that was kind of bounced around, was in the East Coast Hockey League and got to the American League, and then it was a throw-in and a trade, and somebody got hurt in Washington, and he had to be the starter, and wow, pretty good.
Are you still sticking with your original prediction, Jets, Maple Leafs in the final?
Yeah, but Winnipeg's got its hands full. They've really scuffled against St. Louis, though they're up 3-2. But now they got to go back to St. Louis, see if they can win this thing in Game 6. Otherwise, it goes back for whiteout Game 7 in Winnipeg.
Okay, let's keep going here. One of your old friends online, Jim Bloom. He goes, keep on going, Hacksaw. Jim Bloom, San Diego State, 83.
Yay. Aztecs want them to do well in football. It is a real struggle. It is so hard to understand where they are and why they're not making progress. And, I look at where they are right now compared to where they were just a couple of years ago in the midst of the Brady Hoke, Rocky Long era. Damn, that was really good product. Right now, they are scuffling really badly. And the community's turned its back on them. I mean, it's, Jim, it's shocking to me that having lost our NFL franchise, that San Diego State was not able to get the deposed Charger fans to put their arms around Aztec football. And Aztec football with Rocky and Brady was really good. Yeah, it was in the Mountain West. I understand that stigma. But Jesus, to have 5,900 season tickets now in a shiny new stadium when you used to have 15,900, and there's no electricity. Nobody cares. That's in a football city. That shocks me. No.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, the Aztec alumni need to come out. I mean, they need to support their team. But I want to talk a moment here. Jim Bloom, wasn't he a writer for the Union Tribune?
No.
Was that a different Bloom?
Must be.
Because I don't know, just think
You're thinking, well, you're mistaken with a baseball beat writer, Barry Bloom.
Okay, that's who it was.
Nice guy who lives in Arizona. Still, he works for Sportico website, and he's written baseball economics forever and ever.
Okay, that's the name. Okay, let's go here to Gregory. And he goes, the NHL dropped the ball with a lack of additional discipline in last night's game in Winnipeg. B. Shen should have gotten a 4-game suspension for running Mark S.
Well, Sheffley got hurt. Now, I went back and looked at the hit. I've seen like 3 different angles. It was a terrible jolt, but it was not a blow to the head intentionally. It was a terrible head-on collision. It's almost like shoulder to shoulder, and Sheffley's head kind of flipped back. He played some more shifts, but again, you can have a concussion. It might not show up for a little bit of time, so big setback there. Obviously, Winnipeg's coach was really upset. I mean, it was a bang play. It happened so quickly. But Sheffley put his head down. He was looking down when he got clipped, but there was not a forearm to the head. It wasn't a stick. We've seen some of that crap during the playoffs. So felt bad. He's a fine player, and obviously it's a big blow if he's going to be out for an extended period. But he's definitely not playing in Game 6, and maybe he doesn't even play in Game 7.
Loving all the hockey talk. Let's get another one in here. Go to Gary. Hey, Kings head coach Jim Hiller should be fired if the Kings don't come back and win the series. Hiller made several crucial mistakes in games 3 and 4. Those mistakes are unforgivable.
It's hard for me. You know, I watched closely, and the first controversial decision they made was when they challenged the Evander Kane goal. And it was a complicated play because there were so many guys in and around that goaltender. And was Kemper interfered with? Did Kane kick the puck with his skate? Did Kane interfere with the goaltender himself? I mean, it was so hard because there were so many bodies in the crease as Kemper was getting knocked down. But you know the rule is if you challenge in a playoffs and you don't win the challenge, you take a 2-minute penalty. So not only did they get the goal with Kane, which stood after the replay review, they go on the power play and they score 10 seconds later. And the series has not been the same since. And then all the tactical moves with the players. I don't know where the assistant coaches are. Why is somebody not standing up and brainstorming with him and playing devil's advocate with, you've got to roll 3 lines, or you've got to roll 4 lines. I know that Edmonton, they were going every other line. They were running McDavid and Draisaitl out there. But those are unique individuals, and maybe physically can handle it. But the Kings look so gassed. And I broadcast hockey for a long time, Gary, and I've never seen a team give up 93 shots in 2 back-to-back games in the playoffs. So poor Kemper is just not getting an awful lot of help. So, yeah, Hillier's got a real problem here. If they get evicted from the playoffs tonight at Edmonton, he might lose his job. Rob Blake's got to be going crazy because they really built something really good in LA in terms of team depth, et cetera, and a cross section of older guys and younger guys. And geez, this would be terrible if they lose, especially if you lose. You're up 2-0 and you lose to Edmonton.
Yeah, it'd be brutal. 4 years in a row.
Yep.
Okay, hockey 101 question here. What is the crease?
The crease is the blue area
in front of the goal
where the goaltender is. You are not. Evander Kane is not allowed to have his skates in the crease when the shot is fired. But there's contact.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a defenseman. You're standing on the edge of the crease. I'm trying to push you out. You're trying to push me back. So sometimes your skate does get in the crease, but you can't go in the crease and plant your ass there. They'll wave off the goal if that's the case. But there was such combat with so many bodies, and Evander Kane was on the edge of the crease. And it looked like his skate was in the crease, but did it go in the crease because he got pushed in there? And then they're looking and say, did he kick the puck when it was in the crease? Because you can't kick a puck towards a goal. Or did he kick it with a skate to put it on a stick, which appears he did, and then he hit it? Did he interfere with Kemper as Kemper was trying to get his glove down? It took forever. So complicated.
So it's just that little blue zone.
Yeah, but the blue zone is pretty big.
It's like in front of the goal, right?
Yeah.
Now, I've seen cases in watching hockey where there'll be like a mob scene in the crease, and there'll be like half the players, and they'll like overwhelm the goal and knock it off of its magnetic clinging points.
Yeah, and that's when you stop play. Once the goal is dislodged, the goal post, the net is dislodged from the post.
But I would imagine that's a strategy. We just throw bodies at the goal, and it's just like almost like the
but you can't
the tush push, and with the Eagles, you just force the ball in or force the puck in.
Yeah, but you can have penalties in the course of doing that. If you get Evander Kane trying to barrel his way through the goaltender to put the puck in, he can get a roughing call for hitting a goaltender interference. If a defenseman is trying to push the guy, you can get cross-checked. You can get roughing as your defenseman trying to control Evander Kane in the crease.
Okay.
It is Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
All right, let's do a couple more here.
Okay, let's go to RAL, maybe the Royal Air Force guy here. Liverpool winning their 20th title, tying Man United and Wrexham. What a story.
Yeah, the Wrexham story is so cool. I've never seen, John's not invited me over on a Sunday yet. I haven't seen the Netflix package on Wrexham. I'd like to see one of those episodes. That's supposed to be really, really neat. And that's why this Wrexham ideology kind of took hold and everybody became a Wrexham fan.
Yeah, it's a great story.
Yeah.
I like the whole relegation idea and promotions. Do they do that in any other sports?
No, strictly soccer.
I think it's a cool thing. I mean, imagine.
No, Pittsburgh Pirate fan be pissed that you'd say that.
Did you see the guy fall in the stadium?
I've seen the pictures of him being on the ground. He's still in critical condition.
He fell over the rail and landed in the warning track. I mean, it was gruesome.
Yep. He fell like 25 feet head first.
But you ever like being on the upper deck at Petco and like the way it's really steep and you're going up those stairs and you're like, oh my God, I could slip and fall and I could go, ass over tea kettle. And next thing I'm down in the box seats down at the field level.
Yeah. Sidlers don't want you down there. But yeah, it's really bad. It took forever because it took a long time for the emergency people to get out to the warning track to get him. And then they had to stabilize him. And then they had to, I don't know if he broke his neck or broke his back, but as of this morning, he was still in critical condition. And I don't know whether he leaned over and fell. I don't know whether he was drunk. I don't know if he got pushed, but I saw the upper deck where he fell. And holy cow.
Well, some people were saying that he tried to jump on the field.
From that level?
Yeah, but he ended up getting his feet kind of got clipped
in the fence
by the barrier. And so that's why he ended up flopping and coming down crazy. So clearly he was drunk.
Oh,
have you ever seen video shots of like an NFL games when they kick field goals and there's a guy that jumps out of the stadium and catches the ball in the tunnel there?
Yeah, same thing. Yankee Stadium, guys used to hit home runs into when I was a kid growing up was a bullpen, was in right center and left center. And guys that hit home runs in towards the bullpen, and these fans would stand up and jump out of their seats into the bullpen with a glove to catch a ball.
It's awesome. Yeah, that's good stuff. Okay, let's keep going here to social media. And there's a lot of good Shedeur Sanders comments. Here's one of them from Johnny Brown. He goes, okay, your opinions about this young man are irrelevant and highly predictable because you guys don't like the fact that his father took a low-rated NCAA school to a bowl game in just 2 years. Just sometimes be fair-minded. Ever since Dion retaliated against a low-rated announcer that tried to destroy his career, you guys have unfairly judged him as you were trying to destroy this young man's career before he plays his first game.
Oh, Johnny. Just because I quoted what NFL scouts told me they saw in video, and they make their careers, that's all they do is study video for their draft picks. They're the ones that use the phrase junk offense. They're the ones that use the phrase, he has a tendency always to run to the left. They're the one that use the phrase, take out the bubble screens and the flare passes out in the flat, and he only completes 39% of his passes down the field. They're the ones to say, Dion did a great job recruiting an Olympic track team of wide receivers, and Jimmy Horns and all those kids. They're the ones that made all the plays. It wasn't just Shedeur. And, the criticism that he holds the ball too long and the criticism that he doesn't have good pocket presence. And so there's a lot of things. At the end of the day, am I bagging on him? No, I'm just saying he conducted his business wrong. I was told by somebody who was affiliated with the Rams this morning that Shedeur turned off so many people who are decision makers, and that means coaches and coordinators in meetings, that he did this to himself. The way he acted, like it's an honor that I'm here talking to you. That's what I got from somebody from the Rams. And I got stuff from somebody with the Chargers, somebody with the Raiders, etc. So at the end of the day, I just don't think he's a complete quarterback, John, at this point. But he's got the opportunity, and he's going to work under a good guy. Kevin Stefanski is a very good developer of quarterbacks and an X and O's guy. But even Stefanski and his people didn't think much of him until the owner called down and said, we're taking him at the end of the 5th round. So they got 2 rookie quarterbacks. They got 4 quarterbacks in all, and they got a history of quarterback issues in Cleveland. So I'm not burying Shedeur. I'm telling you what the NFL people told me, because I asked them, what did you see close up? Yes, no?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you've been pretty straight on it, but I like Coach Prime. I think he's fantastic. The way he rolled into Boulder and just transformed the Buffaloes, and bringing all of his, the bling and he's a great follow. Coach Prime is a great follow on X. Just really good motivational stuff. But I saw a video clip of, I can't remember who was talking to Prime, and they were asking him, you're meddling in your son's affairs, and you're being like a helicopter dad and trying to tell your son where he should play or not play. And Dion said, he goes, oh, damn right. I've been a pro in the NFL. I know what's going on, and I can give my son guidance on what he needs to do and where to go. But he really made a point of it wasn't so much where he wanted Shedeur to play, but it's where he wanted Shedeur not to play. And then it made me think, like, what NFL teams do you think Prime is telling his kid, don't go there?
He doesn't have any say in it.
But what do you think? I mean, it's got to be like the Cardinals maybe, and what franchises are like, don't want to touch him? Maybe the Chargers?
No. I mean, the Chargers got a great quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that he handled himself correctly. When you show up late at the combine for a meeting with executives, late, when you stop a Zoom interview with a head coach and a coordinator because you want to take a cell phone call with one of the fellas, that's stupid.
It is. Let's listen. We have a comment here specifically on that, and let me see if I can find it here. And this is from Trey J, and he goes, I don't believe these coaches and scouts saying he was late for meetings. That's not even the way his father conducts his team at Colorado.
However, the general consensus was Shedeur lived an entitled life at Colorado, and everything was wrapped around Shedeur, the star quarterback. Not that way any longer. At the end of the day, let's give the kid the chance to see what this experience will be like under Stefanski in Cleveland through the OTAs. See how much. The biggest question to me now for Cleveland is, how are they going to allot the time to work with 2 kid quarterbacks who they're trying to teach into a system, and allot the time to Pickett, who's never been in the system? Flacco has. There's not enough hours in the day. Because, by the way, you're also trying to develop your offensive line. You're trying to develop young wide receivers. You're trying to implement a system to a bunch of new people. How are you going to do all that? It's not like you can be on the field 15 hours a day. It just doesn't work that way in the NFL any longer.
Man, are they doing Hard Knocks with the Browns? That'd be a fun one to watch.
Oh, I don't think it's with the Browns, but that would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be. Okay, let's go here. This is another comment about Mel Kiper. This is from JCA for LA. Hey, I stopped taking Kiper seriously before the Rams and Raiders left LA. He's a clown, only interested in the greater glory of Mel Kiper. The NFL just serves as the whale he has attached himself to.
Yeah. We'll see if he stays part of this, because he sure did stomp on a lot of feet during the course of his condemnation of everything about the NFL. To me, he sold his soul. I have no problem, because talk show host, I've said some really strong ass things that people didn't agree with. That's okay. But I don't spend 3 hours of the draft just repeating and condemning. He did it through the whole course of the draft, which I thought was unfair to the storylines that were there. They never interviewed Cam Ward. How could they mistreat Cam Ward, the number 1 pick in the draft? It just kind of blew my mind. I think he stained his credibility. Is he a good guy? Yeah. Does he work really hard? Yeah, that's who he is. But this was so far over the top. And by the end, the other panelists on ESPN were starting to just get tired of the act.
Yeah, they were.
Give it up. That's where I stand.
My take on the whole thing is I thought that inside Mel Kiper's head, he must have felt threatened. It was like his ego was sort of, fragile.
Why would that be, though? He's got the job. He's been there forever and ever. He's the last of the big ones still there doing it.
But he's already got a protege on the table next to him that's like the next Mel Kiper, So he's feeling all of that. And I think, he just felt like he had to force himself to be relevant on that panel when he didn't need to do that.
So here's the question. We'll wrap up this podcast with this question. So which was the worst TV that you've seen? The hoodie and the babe, or Kiper selling his credibility out to Neon Dion?
Well, the hoodie and the babe is comedy as far as I'm concerned. Kiper is like, yeah, I mean, I feel the same thing as JCA. It's just like, I'm just kind of tired of Mel Kiper, so yeah, I mean, by the way, the whole NFL draft coverage I thought was great.
Oh, phenomenal.
I love the spectacle and all the things that Goodell and his whole staff put together there in Green Bay. It was great. But the Kiper thing was like a sideshow.
Way too much circus. I said this on Monday. I just think he took all the oxygen out of the tent by just going on and on and on about Sanders, to a disservice to a lot of other kids, and this was their special time.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey,